Hi guys, I'm here with Brandon, who's 11th and the third juror. So, hi Brandon.
Hi, this is not our second take.
Definitely not a second take. So, I'm talking about that tribal was really to recap for everyone listening. Sophia, who I'm going to refer to as Fee for this interview, and Wes both played idols on themselves. And the vote was 8 votes for Fee, which were cancelled out, 2 for you, Brandon, and then 1 for Grace. And then you went home with 2 votes against you, Brandon. So how did all of that happen? How did this come to be?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and I guess like the question that I thought you would ask first is like, were you surprised by this vote? So I'll answer that because I prepared an answer, and then I can dive into my thoughts on it. And the answer is like sort of. So like going into it, like I knew there was a target on me, and I knew there was a potential I could receive votes, but we had been working tirelessly to kind of flip that script and get it on Fee. And it looks like we were successful in that regard. What we weren't successful in is planning for a potential idol play. So take it back to 24 hours ago. I'll try and make this quick. We finished the challenge. Nate won.
Take as much time as you need.
Okay, I'll try and make this long. We finished the challenge. Nate won, and I haven't had a chance to watch the other two X interviews. I'll do that later. But I'm going to imagine that they're talking about how quiet it becomes after the challenge, and no one is really interested in saying a name that early. So like, it's the third time around. I'm sure we kind of all expected that to be the case as well. So we were just hanging out. Like I was talking with everyone, VC'd with a few people, and then Grace and I were just hanging out on VC watching some Netflix. Queen's Gambit, you should check it out. And then she says she got to go. She's got to go VC. I believe it was Wes. She said like something's happening. I could be wrong there, but she had to VC someone about Wes. And she comes back and she says that we're basically screwed and that Wes is trying to flip on me and get the votes on me, and he already has the votes. And I go, oh, that's no good. And she goes, you're not telling, you haven't heard this from me. So like, you can't talk to anyone about it. And that's also not very much fun, but I have trust in Grace. We were pretty tight. And so I don't do anything. I just continue watching YouTube on my own for like 3 hours that night while Grace is scrambling, trying to fix it because I'm not supposed to know. And she doesn't want to blow the idea that she's telling me, which, was fun. It was stressful. And so skip ahead to like 11 p.m. that night. I can't speak directly towards it because I'm only hearing a little bit of each side. But Wes and Grace get into like a huge argument, and Grace calls me, and she's very emotional. Um, so I talked to her about it, and then it just sounds like I'm out at that point. Like at a certain extent, like kind of, I think I was saying this in my confessional, so you'll see it after the game. Like winning isn't too important to me, and it's making friends and having fun. And so when a friend is very emotional, like that kind of became my priority. Um, so I called Wes. Wes has ghosted me the entire day. He wasn't talking to me. I sent a message like a few hours before, and he hadn't responded. I call Wes, and he answers, and I just talked to him. I'm like, dude, I know the vote's on me, and that's okay, but like, can we talk about like why we're fighting? Because I thought that the three of us were tight, and I don't know if they thought that too, which is why they were getting so emotional when they found out they weren't tight. Um, and we talked through it, and Wes said he would talk to Grace, and so I went to bed at like midnight. I wake up to a bunch of DMs. Seems like Wes had a misunderstanding, and we were not talking very much that day. And Wes convinced himself that I was making a move on him. It sounds like I'm missing something in this story, if I'm being straight up. It sounds like something else happened, and that's what he's telling me and telling Grace. But the story he told me was that I said hello to him at like 7 a.m., like I always do, and then I stopped responding to him at like 8 a.m. until I sent him a message at 9 p.m. or no 5 p.m. And I got at work. I made the mistake of opening his message and then going somewhere else. And so when I got out of my work meeting, I forgot that he had a DM sent, and I had a bunch of other DMs to respond to. So I guess it's on me. But that being the reason that he decided to turn on me, I don't know if I completely believe that. That's all he swore by. So we worked from there. But he said that it was a defensive move. So he was willing to stay the course and vote Fee, which was the plan that me, Grace, Tommy, and Ben had kind of picked up, was kind of get Fee out of there. So by that point, like, who knows who knew what? Wes had like done a lot of sneaking around to Milo, Tim, and I assume everyone else, and they were all on board to vote me. So it was kind of weird, like Wes trying to backtrack and almost ruin his game to keep the three of us together because he felt really bad that like Wes was also emotional. I said Grace was emotional. Wes was also really emotional, and it was just really intense that like Wes made a move which, from my perspective, looked like an error because Wes was never even on my radar. Wes and I were super tight, um, and from what Wes told me was an error. Like he said, it was a defensive tactic. He didn't mean to. Let's fix it. So then we're going into fix it mode, and part of me always was like, I don't know if I believe this guy. Like it doesn't seem like the best idea to make a move and then backpedal and backtrack. And everyone I was talking to was on board that Wes is making a bad move. We'll keep him around. Let's just get an easy target out. And slowly, everyone that was on Wes's side came to me and announced the plan to me as if I didn't already know. Um, but yeah, the votes come. I was talking to Sophia, or no, sorry, Fee. I was talking to Fee. Fee plays an idol, and at that point, I was pretty confident it was me because that was the only other name around. My guess is they put a vote on Grace just in case of another idol. Um, but overall, really interesting because like it's coming from my perspective, right? So like obviously I'm biased. I don't know everything, but from my perspective, it really seems like I went home because Wes made an error and got the target on me, and then backtracked, but the target was already there. Um, and now I'll be the first one to say that's probably not the entire story. There's probably something else going in the works that maybe Wes found out about the plan and wanted to work with it, and then wanted to backtrack but didn't want to expose the person who had the actual plan. And I don't know. I'll talk to Wes when he gets here because he will not be voted out next, but I bet he will be here soon because he has burnt trust with a lot of people in the past two moves that he made. So that's my gist of the vote. Very exciting. It was a very fun time. I think that's everything.
It was definitely a fun boat to read. I mean, what was it like? Because I did a little sneaky, and the last three votes, I read the Grace vote and then your two votes. What was it like when it was a
Yeah,
1-1 vote? Like, did you think the next vote would be for you? Well, you kind of could have
yeah.
just, but
I thought it was when I saw Grace's vote, I thought that Grace was gone, and I sent like Grace a goodbye message, and I was like, Grace will finish watching Queen's Gambit after this season, I swear. Um, and
oh
then
no.
it said me, and I was like, oh, so it's one of us. It's probably me. And Grace was like, no, it's me. And I was like, all right, well, we'll see. And then I was just trying to DM everyone because I know once the last vote was read, I didn't want to DM anyone anymore, but I felt like I could still kind of say goodbye to people while we were in that like weird middle period. But it was as soon as when I saw Grace's vote, I thought it was Grace. I didn't see the point of splitting three votes. And when I saw my vote the second time, I knew the other vote would be for me because my name was the only one that was bouncing around. Like so many people were talking to me about everything. I feel like Grace's name would have slipped out if she was the actual target.
So last tribal, you mentioned a little bit about this about Wes, but last tribal, Courtney, who was a really close ally of yours in Kilimanjaro,
Mm,
went home. And
yeah.
then this time you have also gone from Kilimanjaro. Do you think this has anything to do with the fact that when we got to merge, Kilimanjaro was, I believe, the only season completely intact, not having lost
Oh,
anyone and
really?
having
That's
five
interesting.
members?
I think Courtney's vote definitely had to do with the fact that the K5 are still together. And I guess just to clarify, that's not a name of any alliance. That's just what I refer to the five Kilimanjaro people. Uh, I It's hard for me to tell if my vote did. I think my vote was more the idea that there were still five Fecta together. Um, like we'd only lost two members, um, and so the group as a whole wanted to get a Fecta member out. But that being said, I don't know if that's true because most of the people voted for Fee and not for me. So who knows like what those three people were thinking.
So, what would you say your biggest regret from the game is?
See, I don't have like I have like one regret, but it's not real. I wish that I would have remembered to respond to Wes after my meeting, because I really, at least from all the information I have, like that's kind of what started him spiraling, and he made it very clear to me, like when we were going to work together, and like day 3 or day 4, we were going to go far. Um, that he goes crazy sometimes, and he plays the scenario game, and I was like, dude, no worries. Like we traded cell numbers. I was like, you can reach me anytime, and we can just talk through, basically. Um, but there'd be times where I would just get busy and I couldn't respond, and like mistakes happen, life happens, and I really feel like from the information I have, that's kind of what started this ball rolling. Could have been something else, but I wish I would have remembered to respond to Wes yesterday. Other than that, like I don't have any regrets. I think everyone's been a joy to play with, a fun time to meet and talk to. I really enjoy just having casual conversations with all those people, and so I don't see a reason to regret anything else.
That's a really positive way to view the game. I mean, being even more positive, what would you say your proudest moment is?
So I guess it's time to like actually talk about game. I think I my proudest moment was probably winning that immunity on Alio 2. Um, Obviously, no one will ever tell me. I mean, they will tell me after they get to Ponderosa, but no one has told me if I would have been the target. But I'm smart enough to know that it wouldn't have made any logical sense to get rid of anyone else had I lost. Like if I was in any of their perspectives, if I was in their shoes, I would have pushed that guy on the outs too. So being able to actually like win my safety and win myself to merge, even though it didn't amount to much and I got 11th, I think that's super exciting. But I'm also just proud of all of the relationships I built. Like everyone I talked to, I was real with, and I got to know and built some great friendships, and was able to reconnect with old ones like Tim, Milo, and Wes. I didn't talk to them a ton after the season, so just being able to like say hello to them again and like say how's your day going? Hello, how you're graduating soon? That's awesome. You have a presentation. Good luck. Like that's just exciting, especially during lockdown and COVID and all that, where you're not really being able to talk to very many people each day. It's just nice to be able to wake up and have DMs to respond to. So I'm just proud of all that stuff.
That's really nice. So you did mention a little bit then your immunity win on the swap.
Hmm.
Ryan from season 3 and season 5 did ask
I love
how.
that.
Let me scroll up because they're talking and I've lost the question. He's asking how you survived the swap tribe being all alone from your original tribe.
Yeah. So the first vote, I definitely threw Vincent under the bus hard. Um, right at swap, Vincent really wanted us to look out for each other, which is a great idea in theory, but against a group that already has majority, I don't really think it would make sense. Like if there was a crack, I would agree that me and Vincent needed to team up and expose that crack. And there was a crack, but they were smart enough to know that like now's not the time to worry about any internal struggles. So right away, it was just like focus on my genuine connections, build a bond with Alicia, strengthen my bond with Milo, see if Chi will ever message me back, um, talk to Barrett. Um, and so it was really just like not having game talk was my strategy. Like I was just talking to Alicia and Milo as much as I could every day, and Barrett at the time, and just get to know them on a personal level, and hope that when the time came for that first vote, they would see me as more likely to work with them than Vincent because I was their friend. Um, and the second vote, I won myself to immunity and voted however they told me to vote. I would have preferred Chigon over Barrett, but I was in no place to argue. So I said, whatever you guys say, we're working together, right? And they said yes. And I said, thank you.
So I know that Nick has already made you aware of this fun little fact, but
He did.
in
It
both
wasn't
your
fun to me.
seasons, not fun to you, but in both your seasons, you did go home with 2 votes against you both times.
Yeah.
First at Final Four and now at Final 11. So that's just kind of fun and really interesting that happened. But like going on from that, like how similar was your gameplay to Kilimanjaro? Do you think was it very different, very similar? How did your gameplay change, especially being
It
back to
was,
back seasons?
yeah, it was almost exactly the same. And I was trying to make people think it wasn't, but it really was the same. And it's how I play a lot of org. So if any of you are ever going to play an org against me, write this down. Um, but I just focus on genuine relationships, and like I was talking with people in Ponderosa about this before, but like I'm going to work with the people that I enjoy talking to on a day-to-day basis. And so I want to be able to have those conversations that can turn into strategy conversations later. I don't want to work with someone that ghosts me and then brings up strategy when it's time to talk strategy. I want to like know about your day, and I want to learn about you as a person. And so my strategy going in is just to have those conversations early on. At least like my hope was that this would be the same, because this is how I play newbie seasons. Is like you vote with the people you like, and you hope that you guys can work together later. And I was really scared that wouldn't be the case in All Stars, but I really feel like it was. And maybe that's just because um, my original tribe was so strong, we didn't have to worry about a vote early on. Like I can say as much as I want that if we lost, I think we would have targeted X or Y. But who knows? Like it could have been me, and not we won't have the answer to that. But I really think it was the same, which was like talk to everyone, get as much information as you can out of everyone, and just get to know everyone on a personal level. Like Wes kept telling me not to share idle paths, and I kept doing it. And no, it didn't really hurt me. Like if anything, it's the same strategy I used last season, which was if I can show this person a little bit of trust, and maybe later down the line they'll want to show me a little bit more. Um, and it wasn't as effective as last season, obviously, but it was still the same strategy, and I think it paid off because I was able to create a bunch of bonds that didn't vote me out. I wasn't voted out on the majority, so I must have been doing something right.
You being warned against idol searching is real Tony and Winners at War vibes.
Yeah,
Spoilers, if anyone
I think
hasn't seen it, but I'm
I
sure
think I
you
posted
know.
in my confessional. Did you see that conversation? I might have posted it. If not, I'll have to go through and
Yeah,
post
I
it. But
believe you sent a screenshot of it, and
yeah,
I remember having that thought like weeks ago, and I was like,
yeah,
oh, I can't wait to point this out later.
yeah.
It's
But
been
what
in my mind.
Wes is basically like, dude, you can't do the same thing. Everyone's gonna expect it. And I was like, yes, sir. And then in my confessional, I was like, I'm definitely already done this, because it was right when you said it was like right when I think the idol reset. He sent me that message, and by that time, I had already shared like 3 or 4 guesses with people, and so I was like, uh oh.
Oh no. So
I mean,
is
it
the
didn't like turn
sorry?
on me. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no. You talk.
I was just gonna. It didn't really end up hurting me, so I don't really have any regrets doing it. Like no one called me out on any idle paths, and I didn't even find anything, so there's nothing for them to turn on me for. But that's just what I was gonna say. It didn't. It didn't end up hurting me, but it could have.
Is there anything else that I haven't like touched on that you want to talk about? Just go wild, whatever to your heart's desire.
To my heart's desire. No, I mean, I think moving forward, like this game is about to get crazy. I think there is probably a big old fight happening in tribe chat right now. I can't see it, but my prediction is that there is, because I had to talk Grace down from the ledge at like midnight my time last night from like exposing people in tribe chat. Um, and I won't say who or what, but there's a lot going on that I stopped from happening. And I really think that Grace and I were solid. And so I think the fact that she went home and it was split between me and her, not she went home, I went home and it was split between me and her, she's gonna go balls to the wall and do something that I would tell her not to do. So that is exciting.
Who left in the game are you rooting for?
I would say I'm rooting for Grace. I'm rooting for Nate. I'm rooting for Alicia, and I'm rooting for Milo.
I am.
And
Yeah,
I'm
I'm sure.
rooting for Wes. I'm
Sorry.
rooting for Wes. Yeah. No, I was just trying to decide if I was rooting for Wes, and I decided I was.
Oh, bad. I thought you stopped. I'm sure you know this is coming up, but so obviously you're rooting for them. But who do you actually think has the best chance of winning?
I think that Nate is in the best spot. Like Wes has ruined his chances of winning the game with this round. Um, he's turned on almost everyone in this game and then backpedaled. So no one's going to trust him. Grace is on the outs right now, so she has a chance, but she's kind of going to be the center of attention. Alicia is going to be a challenge threat, and they're going to want to get her out. Nate is doing an amazing job, kind of laying under the radar, and maybe it's time zones working to his advantage. But like he doesn't start like many strategy conversations. So I think he's going to do an amazing job, kind of like laying low until it's time to start playing at like 7. And when it's time to start playing, I think all of his connections are really going to shine, because he's definitely talking to people and getting to know them. So I think Nate's in a fantastic spot right now.
Okay, so my last question is the good old word association. So I'll go
Mhm.
through everyone left in the game, which you didn't really get to do because you only had the final
Yeah,
three last
I
season.
only had 3. It went by too quick.
So I'll just go through them alphabetically and say the
Mhm.
first thing that comes to mind. You know the drill for this by now. So
Yes.
Alicia,
Amazing.
Ben,
Hilarious.
Chi,
Not an all-star.
Grace,
Best friend.
Milo,
Under the radar.
Nate,
Sneaky.
Fee,
Game maker. Game player. Game player.
Tim,
Presentation god.
Tommy,
Leader.
and Wes.
Crazy. And like in a kind of bad way, but also a kind of good way.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much for playing this season, Brandon. I hope you enjoyed your time in the game, and we'll see you again at the finale, and you enjoy your time in Ponderosa.
Yeah, thank you for taking time to interview me. This is a great community, and I'm excited to be a part of it again.
Yeah, hopefully, if you decide to after this season, you can be the spectator. They're all gonna watch this. You can break the fourth wall.
Yeah, I know.
Well, thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you.